The 28-year-old night shift nurse had no idea that the man fighting for his last breath behind that door was about to change her life forever, or that the same people mocking her would soon regret every word they ever said. Evelyn Carter never imagined her name would matter inside St. Augustine Medical Center. To most people she was just another night shift nurse. Black scrubs, tired eyes, calm voice. Invisible. She had learned early how hospitals worked. Doctors spoke. Nurses obeyed. And nurses like her were expected to obey quietly. Especially her. Evelyn was 28. Brilliant. Patient. And kind in ways that did not announce themselves. She worked extra shifts not for praise but because patients remembered her face. Remembered the way she listened. That was how she met Mr. Harrison Whitmore. He arrived late one night surrounded by machine security whispers and fear. The name Whitmore traveled faster than the gurney. Billionaire. Real estate mogul. Private equity giant. A man whose buildings reshaped skylines. Now he was frail, thin. Fighting something no amount of money could buy his way out of. Cancer. The doctors were tense. The specialists sharp-tongued and proud. This was their patient. Their prestige. Evelyn was assigned to his overnight care. One of the senior doctors frowned when he saw her name. Give him to someone else, he muttered. This case is delicate. The charge nurse shook her head. She is one of our best. The doctor sighed, clearly annoyed. Fine. Just make sure she doesn't get too attached. Evelyn heard everything. She always did. Inside the room Mr. Whitmore lay awake staring at the ceiling. His breathing was shallow. His eyes sharp. Good evening, she said softly. My name is Evelyn. I will be taking care of you tonight. He turned his head slowly. Studied her face. Not with suspicion. With curiosity. You speak like someone who is not afraid of silence, he said. Evelyn smiled. Silence tells you things people don't. That made him chuckle. Which turned into a cough. She moved instantly, adjusting his pillows, checking his vitals with gentle hands. You are different, he said after a moment. Evelyn shrugged. I just do my job. Night after night she cared for him. She sat when others rushed. She explained when others dismissed. She listened when others talked over him. The doctors came and went. Discussing him like a project. A failing system. A problem to be solved. Evelyn spoke to him like a man. He told her stories late at night. About growing up poor. About building his empire. About the loneliness at the top. No one ever listens once you become powerful, he said. They only wait for you to finish talking. Evelyn nodded. I know the feeling. One night he asked. Why nursing? She answered honestly. Because people are most real when they are scared or in pain. And I want to be there when that happens. That night he slept better than he had in weeks. The doctors noticed. Vitals improving. Anxiety reduced. They took credit. Good management, one said. Excellent medication plan, said another. None mentioned Evelyn. One morning a senior doctor snapped at her in the hallway. Do not let him get too comfortable with you. He needs discipline, not sentiment. Evelyn looked him in the eye. Patients are not machines. The doctor scoffed. Know your place, nurse. She did. She returned to Mr. Whitmore's room. Adjusted his fore. Smoothed his blanket. He watched her carefully. They treat you poorly, he said. Evelyn hesitated. Then smiled. I am used to it. He frowned. You should not be. Days turned into weeks. His condition worsened. One evening he asked her to close the door. Then he reached under his pillow. He pulled out a small black key. Heavy. Cold. engraved with a symbol. "Take this," he said. Evelyn stepped back startled. "Sir, I cannot accept gifts." "This is not a gift," he whispered. "It is a responsibility." She shook her head. "I don't understand." "You will," he said. That night he asked for his lawyer. Not the hospital legal team. His personal one. The next morning the doctors were furious. "He is not thinking clearly," one said. "This is highly irregular." Evelyn was escorted out of the room. But inside, while the doctors argued, while egos clashed, while assumptions blinded them, Harrison Whitmore signed documents, changed names, transferred access, and wrote Evelyn Carter in places no one expected. By the time they realized what was happening, it was already done. And Mr. Whitmore smiled for the last time, holding the hand of the one person who saw him, not as a billionaire, but as a dying man. The morning Harrison Whitmore died, the hospital felt heavier. Not quieter. Heavier. Doctors gathered outside his room speaking in low urgent tones. Charts were reviewed. Protocols checked. Time of death recorded. Evelyn stood alone at the nurse's station, hands folded, eyes steady. She had been there when his breathing slowed, when his grip loosened, when his eyes searched the room one last time. "Thank you," he had whispered. Not for the care, but for the dignity. She had closed his eyes herself. A senior physician cleared his throat. "Time to notify the family." Evelyn nodded, though she already knew there would be no one rushing in. Whitmore had been alone long before the machines. Within hours the hospital buzzed with speculation. What would happen to his estate? Who would inherit? Which foundations would benefit? Doctors spoke confidently. Men like that always leave it to their own. That afternoon a black luxury sedan pulled up outside the hospital. Security stepped out. Then a man in a tailored suit carrying a slim leather briefcase. He introduced himself calmly. Daniel Brooks, attorney for the late Mr. Harrison Whitmore. He requested a private conference room, and asked that Evelyn Carter be present. The charge nurse blinked. The nurse. Yes, Daniel replied. Specifically her. Word spread instantly. Doctors whispered. Why would a lawyer want a nurse? One senior specialist scoffed. Probably a witness. She was always hovering around him. Evelyn arrived quietly, still in her scrubs. She sat near the end of the table. Daniel opened the briefcase, removed a set of documents, and placed a small black box on the table. He looked directly at her. Mr. Whitmore instructed that this be delivered to you immediately after his passing. The room froze. A doctor laughed sharply. This is inappropriate. Daniel did not look at him. Inside this box is a master access key, linked to Vault's digital accounts and private holdings. Someone gasped. Daniel continued. As of last night, all controlling interests, personal trusts, liquid assets and proprietary access codes have been legally transferred to Evelyn Carter. The silence was absolute. One doctor stood abruptly. That is impossible. Daniel finally looked at him. It is complete. Irrevocable. And executed under sound legal and medical supervision. Another doctor shook his head. He was vulnerable. He was influenced. Daniel's voice sharpened. Mr. Whitmore was of sound mind. Evaluated twice. And very clear. He chose. All eyes turned to Evelyn. She felt heat rise in her chest. Not guilt. Not fear. Shock. I didn't ask for anything, she said quietly. Daniel nodded. He made that very clear. A senior physician slammed his hand on the table. This is absurd. We treated him We saved his life for months. Daniel replied evenly. You treated his body. She treated his humanity. No one spoke. Daniel slid the documents toward Evelyn. These papers formalize your ownership. The key unlocks private vaults and servers. Everything is already in your name. A doctor muttered. This has to be challenged. Daniel smiled slightly. It already was. And it failed. The meeting ended in chaos. Outside the room voices rose. Accusations flew. She manipulated him. She played him. She knew what she was doing. Evelyn walked back to the nurse's station, hands shaking. Her world tilting. That night she sat alone in her apartment. The black box on the table. The key inside. She thought of every comment. Every dismissive glance. Every time she was told to know her place. Her phone rang. Daniel again. You should know, he said. Mr. Whitmore recorded a statement. It will be released tomorrow. Evelyn closed her eyes. What does it say? Daniel paused. It explains everything. Across the city, doctors who once mocked her slept uneasily. And in St. Augustine Medical Center, where power had always spoken loudly, a quiet nurse had just become the most powerful name in the room. The video was released at exactly 9 in the morning. Every major news outlet received it at the same time. No warning. No build-up. A single frame appeared on screens across the city. Harrison Whitmore sitting upright in his hospital bed. Thin. Calm. Clear-eyed. His voice was steady. If you are watching this, then I am gone. And I want the world to hear this without interruption. Doctors froze mid-step in hallways. Nurses stopped charting. Phones buzzed non-stop. Harrison continued. I was treated by many skilled professionals during my time at St. Augustine. Some were brilliant. Some were arrogant. Some forgot that medicine is about people before prestige. The camera shifted slightly. Evelyn stood beside the bed in the background. Out of focus. Unassuming. Harrison spoke again. One person saw me. Not my money. Not my name. Me. Her name is Evelyn Carter. Gasps rippled through the hospital. He continued. She listened when others spoke over me. She comforted me when others dismissed my fear. She treated me with dignity when others treated me like a trophy. The screen cut briefly to medical charts. Then back to Harrison. I watched how she was treated. How assumptions were made. How respect was withheld. Not because of her skill, but because of her skin. A senior doctor dropped into a chair. Harrison's voice hardened. I have built companies, judged men, hired, fired, and rewarded people my entire life. And I can say without hesitation, character is the rarest asset of all. He leaned closer to the camera. I chose Evelyn Carter because she is honest. Because she is capable. Because she represents everything this world claims to value but often punishes. He paused. To those who believe this decision was manipulation or weakness, understand this. I have never been more clear, more aware, or more certain. The video ended. Silence followed. Then chaos. Within an hour, St. Augustine Medical Center was surrounded by reporters. Questions flew. Cameras rolled. How could a nurse inherit billions? Was there misconduct? Was there bias? Inside the hospital the mood shifted violently. Doctors who once barked orders now whispered. Those who mocked Evelyn avoided eye contact. Those who dismissed her suddenly remembered her name. The administration called an emergency meeting. This is a public relations disaster, the director said. We need control. A physician snapped. She took advantage of him. Another replied. On camera. He praised her. The director exhaled sharply. Find something. Anything. But there was nothing. Every evaluation showed Harrison Whitmore was lucid. Every document airtight. Every decision deliberate. Meanwhile, Evelyn stayed home. Overwhelmed. Watching the world react to a life she never asked for. She did not celebrate. She did not post. She did not speak. Daniel visited her that evening. You should be prepared, he said. They will come for you. Evelyn nodded. I know. Across town, doctors who once walked with confidence now faced consequences. Sponsors pulled funding. Boards launched investigations. Past complaints resurfaced. One resident remembered how a senior physician told Evelyn to stay in her lane. That comment was now trending online. A headline read, Dying billionaire exposes hospital bias in final message. Another read, Black nurse inherits empire after showing what care really means. At the hospital, Evelyn returned for one final shift. She wore the same scrubs. Walked the same halls. But everything had changed. A doctor stepped aside to let her pass. Another nodded stiffly. One senior specialist approached her. Voice low. Regret heavy. I was wrong, he said. About you. Evelyn looked at him calmly. I know. That night the hospital board announced multiple resignations. Diversity reviews. Policy changes. Too late. But necessary. Evelyn finished her shift. Removed her badge. And placed it gently on the desk. She did not quit out of anger. She left with purpose. Outside, the city lights blinked like possibilities. Her phone buzzed. A message from Daniel. Tomorrow the vault opens. Evelyn looked at the black key resting in her palm. The weight of it no longer frightening. She whispered softly. This was never about money. And somewhere in the quiet, the truth settled. Those who treated her as invisible had just been seen for exactly who they were. The vault opened at sunrise. Not with drama. Not with ceremony. But with a quiet click that echoed through a marble room built to protect secrets. Evelyn stood still. The black key warm in her hand. Daniel beside her. Two security officers watching respectfully. Inside were servers. Ledgers. Accounts. Deeds. Companies. Foundations. Power layered so deeply it could change cities. Daniel spoke softly. Everything is live. You have full control. No limitations. Evelyn exhaled slowly. She did not rush forward. She did not touch anything yet. All her life people had told her to wait. To stay back. To know her place. Now the world waited on her. By noon the announcement went public. Evelyn Carter assumes control of Whitmore Holdings. The reaction was instant. Markets trembled. Boards panicked. Executives demanded meetings. And at St. Augustine Medical Center, doctors watched screens in silence. Some felt anger. Some felt shame. All felt regret. One former senior physician sat alone in his office staring at an old photo. Himself shaking hands with donors. Smiling for cameras. Never once remembering the names of nurses. Now the nurse he dismissed held his future. Evelyn's first act was not extravagant. She did not buy a mansion. She did not appear at galas. She called a meeting. Hospital administrators. Board members. Doctors. Nurses. All summoned. The room was packed. Airtight with tension. Evelyn entered calmly. Wearing a simple suit. Hair pulled back. No jewelry. No show. She stood at the head of the table. I am not here for revenge, she began. I am here for correction. Murmurs moved through the room. She continued. I watched how power spoke in these halls. Who was heard? Who was ignored? Who was respected? And who was tolerated? Her eyes moved slowly across the doctors. This institution saves lives. But it also damages them. She placed a folder on the table. Funding will continue. But only with change. Mandatory bias training. Transparent review systems. Nurse representation on every decision board. And immediate accountability for discriminatory behavior. A doctor swallowed hard. Evelyn added. Any resistance will result in withdrawal of support. Not because I am angry. But because I am responsible. Silence followed. Then something unexpected. A young resident stood. I saw it, he said. I saw how she was treated. And I said nothing. Another stood. We all did. Evelyn nodded. That ends now. Outside reporters waited for outrage. For spectacle. Instead they got reform. Over the next weeks everything shifted. Hospitals changed policies. Medical schools revised training. Foundations redirected billions toward equity in care. Evelyn appeared rarely. When she did, she spoke plainly. I did not earn this through ambition. I inherited it through compassion. The story followed her everywhere. How a dying billionaire saw what others ignored. How a nurse became a leader without changing who she was. One night Evelyn returned to the empty hospital wing. She stood outside the room where Harrison Whitmore had died. She whispered. You trusted me. She turned away. Months later at a press conference a reporter asked. Do you feel vindicated? Evelyn answered calmly. No. I feel responsible. Because power did not come to prove them wrong. It came to prove what care looks like. Behind her former doctors watched. Some with pride. Some with regret. All with understanding. They had mistaken silence for weakness. Kindness for compliance. And learned too late. Evelyn Carter never raised her voice. Never demanded apology. She changed systems. She changed futures. And in every hospital that learned to listen, a quiet truth remained. The greatest legacy is not money. Not buildings. Not names on walls. It is dignity. Given when no one is watching. And that was the final lesson. Left behind by a dying billionaire. And carried forward. By the nurse who never stopped caring.